The year is 1999. Fear of computers that can't count past 2000 is running rampant. The shuttle Discovery is the first craft to dock with the International Space Station. I'm 14 years old, walking home from school, when I see what my hormone-addled teenage brain decides is the purveyor of the very finest examples of modern technology, the Sharper Image. How could this establishment of dazzling gadgets be anything but the harbinger of humanity's sci-fi future? You know, the one I read about in all my favorite books: Ender's Game, Asimov's Foundation series, Ben Bova's Moonbase saga. These were the fictional futures in which I pictured myself living. And the Sharper Image was just the right institution to deliver my favorite imaginative author's dreams into my reality. One need only look so far as the Weebot 2000 personal electronic pet, guaranteed to at least equal the entertainment value of your real-life goldfish. Or what about the Ionic Breeze personal air purifier? Given 2023's concerns of plagues and chemical spills, maybe that one is prophetic after all. They even sold multiple headsets that projected light into your brain like some Star Trek virtual reality game gone awry. Perhaps they predicted Zuckerberg's metaverse decades before he tried to foist the boring idea upon his unwilling employees. I spent hours spread out over the course of years perusing the cramped aisles of the Sharper Image, not able to afford any of the insane collection of unjustifiably expensive electronics, but obsessed with them nonetheless. One item in particular captured my attention, like a gleaming golden bauble set atop a pyramid of treasures. It was this: a laser keyboard. If you stop for 1 second to think about it, this type of keyboard is a very dumb idea. But being an introverted, geeky, and possibly unfriendly teen, more obsessed with befriending gizmos than other humans, I didn't stop to think. I just knew that owning this keyboard would make my life better. Laser pointers were cool enough, and this thing was like 100 laser pointers arranged into a QWERTY keyboard you could bring anywhere. Throw it in your pocket and project a keyboard on the table at lunch, right on the wall, or even turn your desk itself into a touch surface. To my chagrin, I never was able to buy this item, and I went over 20 years with a leaky hole in my heart because of it. A hole I am only now going to fill. Yes, that is right. I bought my very own laser keyboard, and it didn't even cost the Sharper Image's $200 asking price. I think buying crap you don't need is one of adulthood's true pleasures. There's some pretty crappy things about being old: taxes, obviously, responsibilities you don't want, the gradual or sometimes swift decay of our bodies, and a perpetual dread of death. But one bright light of adulthood is your freedom to participate in all the capitalistic pleasures your parents labeled as wastes of money. Back to the point though, I'm gonna tell you how wrong my little boy brain was to want this terrible laser keyboard. And just to punish myself further for my younger self's stupidity, I'm also going to review a few other portable keyboards that you should definitely, totally not talk yourselves into buying. Or do. You're an adult, maybe, so you can use your credit limit however you please. Before we get to the main event, let's start with this weird rollable keyboard. On Amazon, which lately is just a bunch of confusing ads for crap barely related to your search term, the keyboard's called a Sungwoo Foldable Silicon Keyboard, USB wired standard keyboard, waterproof roll-up keyboard for PC, notebook, laptop, full-size black. Or for short. Despite the specific description, I plugged it into my iPad. I don't know what I expected when I bought it, but it's definitely not the strange, uncomfortable, sort of gross typing experience I got. Yeah, it bends, so I guess I should have realized that each key would just be a mush of rubber, but somehow I figured that maybe just the areas in between the keys were rubber and the keys themselves were at least semi-firm, but no, it's all mush. I'm just tapping a mushy bubble of material that makes me feel more like I'm caressing some kind of organic membrane than typing. Maybe I'm just being dramatic or my OCD is acting up, but using this thing makes me feel actively uncomfortable. Something I never thought I'd say about a keyboard. Now, if you couldn't already tell, I really hate this rubber keyboard, but one thing that I didn't talk about is how it collects dust like crazy. You could probably already tell from the shots in the video, but really, I could clean it, put it down, walk away for 1 minute, come back, and it's completely covered in dust again when nothing around it has any dust on it whatsoever. Like, I think maybe like a cleaning company should patent this material because it attracts dust better than a Swiffer or like a mop. Touch typing on it is a challenge because I can't really tell from touch alone whether I've pressed the key hard enough for it to register. Sometimes I feel like I'm drilling down through my desk to get the input to show up on the screen, while other times a simple brush across the surface with a feather will do the trick. It's a bit confusing. Then there's the issue of keys sticking, something I've already run into a couple of times. You're just merrily typing, and all of a sudden your word has a few extra A's. Then you have to stop what you're doing to slap the keyboard on its behind like a misbehaving child before continuing to write the next great American novel. Now, I can see a couple of scenarios where this keyboard would be useful. Maybe you have a toddler who's also an aspiring author. He can spill his orange juice as many times as he'd like on this thing while working and then rinse the sticky accumulation off in the sink afterwards. Or perhaps you were hired as a scriptwriter for a James Cameron movie. Chances are there's gonna be a lot of water on set. And with this thing, you don't need to worry about a stray wave ruining your delicate electronics. Really, unless you work near splashing water, like on a boat or at a construction site with lots of debris that may get under traditional keys, I don't think this is the right portable keyboard for you. I have no clue who all these people are on Amazon who say it's a great keyboard for travel. Fake reviews, maybe? You be the judge. As soon as I stopped filming and tried to use this nasty, horrible rubber keyboard again, the space key had broken. So now whenever I just set the thing down, it keeps hitting the space key over and over and over again, which I think is because, I was kind of rolling it up and stuff for the video, but obviously in use, if it's supposed to be portable, you're gonna be rolling it around and bringing it with you. So, it breaking that easily probably is not the best thing. Let's move on to the Geyes, or Geyes. I'm not going to pronounce it Geyes because as a gay myself, I feel bad degrading my sexuality by comparing it to this pink monstrosity. I bought it on Amazon for around 25 bucks, though it's a bit more expensive last time I checked, and I'll print the full name on the screen because I'm not going to say it. Now, on a purely cosmetic note, the description labels the colorway as rose gold. I spent many of my college years color matching oil paints to Pantone chips, and I love that companies are being more descriptive with their color names. However, this is not rose gold, it's pink. In some lighting, it even looks copper. The keyboard folds into a neat little rectangle, which is more portable than its unfolded state, but is still far from pocketable. Unfold it, and you get a somewhat compressed, but still highly usable layout. You even get a built-in stand to rest your phone. I tested it by working on a chapter from an upcoming book on the iOS version of Scrivener, and though I did make a ton of typos, I also noticed that the keys feel awful. Now, I don't want you to misinterpret what I'm about to say as a compliment, but compared to the Rollable keyboard, it's far superior, as in, it's not good at all, but it doesn't make me squirm in my shoes while typing. The plastic keycaps remind me more of packaging material than anything I've touched on really any other keyboard I've owned. Do yourself a favor and type on a completely flat surface because the deck flexes enough as is without the help of an uneven lap or other surface. Connecting it to your phone is a breeze, and battery life is decent enough that I haven't had to charge it after several hours of continuous use. The micro USB charging is a bit annoying though. If I can't yet have energy wirelessly beamed into all my electronics through and around my tender human flesh, then at least I want everything to use USB-C. Oh, and there's no backlight, though there are function keys that can be used to control brightness, play or pause music, and return to your home screen. Overall, I'd say this little guy actually works as promised. I just wish you could lock the folding mechanism once opened, or at least make the hinge a bit stiffer to tamp down on the incessant rattling. Don't get it though. That's the theme of this video. Except for maybe this next item. Of course, I couldn't let my rose gold keyboard be lonely, so I spent another $10 and bought it a pink friend, this ultra slim retro Bluetooth keyboard. You can immediately judge its quality by the fact that it came in a plastic bag instead of a box and that it has no instructions whatsoever. Luckily, all these Bluetooth keyboards pair in the same way by holding down the function and C keys, so getting it set up with my iPad was a breeze. As soon as I picked the thing up, I noticed that it's extremely light for its size. Some might call this cheap, but I call it portable. Though the metal covering the back feels hardly more durable than aluminum foil. The funny thing is, it's not bad. Maybe my brain is still scrambled from testing the rubber monstrosity, but I found typing on this keyboard a breeze. Sure, the plastic on the keys is a bit rough and the pressure curve isn't the most pleasing, but I was able to type at full speed on it, something I can't say for the other boards. It even has a function row. I am a bit confused as to why it has rubber feet on the top, since I'd obviously prefer those on the bottom. As it is, the board is liable to slip around on the smooth surface if you're a forceful typist. So one thing that I forgot to mention about this keyboard is that it actually comes with an on-off switch, and that sounds like a silly thing to bring up until you realize that a lot of these cheaper keyboards don't have an on-off switch, which means that even when you're not using them, the battery is just draining. So I really do appreciate that. And while I did mention that the back is slippery, I don't think I really stressed how slippery it is. Like, if you want to use this realistically, you'd need to buy and add little rubber feet to the back. Otherwise, it's just going to go sliding all over the place as you type, even if you are typing a little more gently. Also, there's no built-in stand for your device. Other keyboards of this ilk at least include a groove along the top where you can balance your phone. No such luck here. As to why it has the word retro in the name, I'm gonna go ahead and guess it's due to the round keys. Old typewriters used round keys, and some people find the shape hard to use, but I think it's fine. For $10, it's really quite adequate. We're gonna swing back to the laser keyboard soon, I promise, but first I want to give a special mention to this really cool remote input device called that technically contains a keyboard. It's useful if you want to hook a computer up to your TV and control it from your couch, for example, but the keys remind me of a BlackBerry, and believe it or not, many people actually use those little boards to type out super long emails. For what it does, this little device beats both of the previous two products in usability. If you pair it to your iPad, you immediately can use the built-in trackpad to control things, even smoothly scrolling and clicking with ease. It has a battery, which by some miracle of modern-day electronics, you can actually see by opening this back panel. Inside, you'll also find a USB receiver if you prefer to use it in lieu of Bluetooth. Yeah, I linked this in the description. It's worth buying as a remote, and somehow I actually like the keyboard on it more than those foldable, rollable boards. And so we come to it at last. Let's talk lasers. Because we're living in the future, apparently, I only spent $50 on this thing as opposed to the couple $100 the Sharper Image charged. To be fair, that's still $50 more than I should have spent on such a useless piece of crap, but isn't $50 worth filling that hole in my heart? That's right, Mom. 20 years later, I finally spent my adult money and bought it. Anyway, I'll print the keyboard's name on the screen and leave a link in the description if you want to check it out yourself, but suffice it to say, there's plenty of options on Amazon to satisfy all your laser keyboarding needs. I'll cut to the chase and tell you that I was shocked to discover the keyboard actually works pretty much as advertised. It shines a red diode laser, just like the kind you bought to annoy your teacher back in the day, through a diffractive optical element holding a tiny image of a keyboard and some lenses to project a QWERTY layout on any flat and relatively non-reflective surface. Then another diode shoots out a plane of infrared light just above the table, capturing areas where it's interrupted with a CMOS sensor to triangulate your finger's position. What it all means is you get to smash your delicate fingertips against any hard and unforgiving surface you'd like. Do you enjoy pounding away at wood all day? Go for it. Really, the keyboard has the same fundamental issue as touchscreen keyboards. Yeah, I could just use my virtual keyboard on my iPad to type, but then I'd be typing on glass, which is not exactly comfortable. There's a reason why keys move, and part of that reason is because a moving surface is gentler on your hands than a stationary surface. Try punching a wall with your left fist, then punch a pillow with your right. Which hand has the broken knuckles? Well, the same principle applies to keyboards. The other issue is that the laser keyboard is far from perfect. It makes a ton of errors and misinterprets which key you're hitting often enough that it's annoying. But if you're somewhat careful and don't type too fast, it does work. And on top of its semi-functionality, it's also really cool. Though it does beep really loudly by default for every key you press, like shockingly loudly for such a little speaker. Someone listening from an adjacent room might even suspect you've got a malfunctioning fire detector in the apartment, but luckily you can disable the audio feedback. Like, did you hear that? I promise I did not exaggerate it for the video. It's really, truly a very loud beeping sound. I should also mention that you can connect to it wirelessly, and it even includes a stand on top upon which you might perch your phone. But yeah, don't buy this for any productivity related reasons. I think the conclusion here is that keyboards have remained relatively the same since their invention for a reason. Size, layout, and movement of a traditional board just works. Mechanical keyboards still offer the best no-compromise typing experiences, and scissor switch laptop keyboards have come a long way. If you really want something portable, I could recommend a Newfie. It's not super small, but it'll easily go in a bag and will ensure you're not stuck with a beeping laser. Thanks for watching. I'm not sure how useful the video was, given that I don't recommend any of the keyboards in it, but I hope it was entertaining anyway. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you again soon.